Hello all, welcome to section 2 on this series on AutoCAD. In this section, we'll be looking at exercises in AutoCAD. So we'll be doing exercises both on 2D drawing and 3D models. We'll be starting with 2D exercise. So for this section, we'll be looking at some 2D exercise starting with some basic 2D drawing exercise. Then over time, as our skill advances, we'll be looking into the 3D model exercises. For the first exercise, we'll be looking at this particular drawing. Then as our skill advanced, we'll be looking at more advanced drawing for machine design, something like this, and even more advanced drawing than this. So for today, just to start up with our knowledge, we're going to be doing nothing too complex, nothing too simple too. So we'll be doing this particular exercise. So let's get started. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is to open my new sheet, my new drawing sheet. So I'll come to new here, new. So this is a template box where you can select a particular template of your choice from the list you have. So I'll be choosing AutoCAD template. So AutoCAD template is actually a template without any predefined settings. All right, so I choose AutoCAD template. You can see your grid lines. I really don't need these grid lines, so I'm going to put them off. So I'll go to my drawing aid and turn the grid lines off. I don't need the grid lines. All right, so I'm about to get started. So mind you, we are working on this particular exercise. We are working on this exercise. All right, we are working on this exercise. So for this particular exercise, you'll be needing some tools, both drawing tools and modifying tools. So the tools that you'll be needing for this exercise are construction lines, rectangle, circle, trim, offset, chamfer. Then later we'll do dimension, then gradient for the color and layers, gradient and layers for the color. So quite a number of tools, even though the exercise looks simple, yeah, but just to sharpen your skills on your tools. So if you don't know some of these tools, you can check the previous videos on drawing tools and modifying tools. Learn those tools, then let's attempt this exercise. All right, let's get started. Okay, now to start the particular exercise, the first exercise, uh, the first thing we're going to do is our units. We're going to set our units. By default, AutoCAD is on inches. The units for AutoCAD by default, the default unit in AutoCAD is inches. So I would like to change my unit to millimeters. So to do that, there are different ways you can do that, but a very simple way you can get this done is by typing UN on your keyboard. Type UN on your command line. You can see my command line below. My command line, type UN and press enter or spacebar. All right, when you do that, you will see this pop-up dialog box. This dialog box at the top. You will see this dialog box at the top where you can now select your units. So inches, I'll change inches to millimeter. So I want to do my drawings in millimeter. You can choose whichever millimeter of your choice, but I'm going to be working with millimeters. So I'll choose millimeter. Okay. So this is the first step. We have changed from inches to millimeter. All right. So now we want to start working on this drawing. Now, looking at this drawing, from my experience, my advice is when you want to approach any drawing, the first thing is for you to study the drawing. When you study the drawing, then you understand the best approach on how to do your design. Now, there is no particular formula, as I used to say, there is no particular approach. There is no one way to doing this drawing. I can do it several ways and using several approach, and I'll still get the same results. So now you might follow my approach, but there are other approach. Not there are other approach on how you can get the same drawing done. We'll still end up at the same result. Okay, so after doing our settings for unit, so now we're going to start the drawing. So the first thing we're going to do on the drawing is to start with our construction line. All right. So we've been able to identify our construction lines. So I'll start with the first construction line. So I'm going to start with this line. I'm going to start with this vertical line. So I'll draw vertical construction line. So click on this arrow, construction line. So vertical. So I'll place it at any convenient spot. So escape on my keyboard. So the next I'm going to draw is, I'm going to draw another horizontal line. I'm going to draw an horizontal line to represent this. So I've done this vertical construction line. So I'll do this horizontal construction line. So construction line, horizontal. Okay, escape on my keyboard. All right, so now I've done the construction line. So the next I'm going to do is I'm going to be using a tool offset. So if you don't know how to use offset, check the previous video on offset. Now, when you're using offset, it's going to require you to specify offset distance. So offset distance is the distance between one object and the other. So right now, this construction line I've drawn, so I need to calculate the distance between this construction line and the next construction line, which is this. So what is the distance? So I'm going to critically check my drawing to try and get the distance. Okay. All right. So from the drawing, I can see I'm giving a total distance here to be 114. So 114 divided by 2 will give me half of this distance, right? 114. Then now the drawing has also specified the distance between this side and this construction line, which is 13.5. So now for my calculation, I will be having 114 divided by 2 minus 13.5. So now let's try and do that. 114 divided by 2 minus 13.5. So 43.5. So I need a distance of 43.5. The distance between this vertical construction line and the one to the right, the same goes to the left, 43.5. So go to my AutoCAD. So I'll go to offset, specify offset distance, 43.5. Then select object to offset. I'll select this object. So I'm going to offset to the right, then select object again, offset to the left. All right. So now I'm going to press escape. So if you are doing this, sometimes you might not actually see your other objects after offsets. So if you don't see your objects, now adjust your zoom. I'm using mouse. So my mouse can help me to, I can scroll up and down on the wheel of my mouse to adjust my zoom. So just in case you are not seeing other lines after doing the offset, you don't need to get bothered. So just use your zoom on your scroll wheel of your mouse to zoom to be able to see the drawing. So when you are using zoom, the distance is still the same. All right. So I've been able to zoom to appropriate view. All right. So now after doing that, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to be using offset again. Now this time horizontally. I'm going to be using to get the horizontal construction lines. So what's the distance between this construction line and the next? So I'm going to be using a similar calculation. We are given a total distance 81.5. 81.5 divided by 2 will give me half of this total distance, half. Then I will subtract 12. Can you see this 12 here? So the 12 is the distance from here to here. So from the center to the end is 81.5 divided by 2. Then by subtracting 12, I will get the distance from here to here. Okay, so let's use our calculator. 81.5 divide by 2 minus 12. So 28.75. All right. So offset again. Offset distance is 28.75. Enter. Select the object to offset. So I want to offset in both directions. Select object again. Okay. All right. So you can use your zoom to adjust your view to make it convenient. All right. So now what I've done so far, I've done the construction line. So the next tool I'm going to be using is rectangle. Now, when you look at this drawing, you will see that the major boundary is actually a rectangle that has a cut at the corner. So the cut is chamfer. So first I'll do the rectangle. And to draw a rectangle, you need the total length, which is 114, and the total height, 81.5. So those are the dimensions of the rectangle. Then also you need to locate one corner of the rectangle. So I'm going to try and locate this corner. So from this, I have this point now for my drawing. So which is this. I have that point. So from that reference point, I'm going to try and navigate to this point using line. So from this reference point, coming down 12, then going to the left 10. Okay, is it actually 10? Wow. Ah, it's actually, so here I can see. Now let me look at this corner. Now you have to be careful with your dimension. I almost made a mistake of saying 10, whereas it should be 13. 10, oh, sorry. Yeah, it's 10. It's 13, sorry. Now, you need to be careful with your drawing. You need to check your dimension properly. Now, I can see here that is 10. I can see here that is 13. There is a difference. 10 is the dimension of the chamfer, which is not what we need now. But what we need now is this 13, which is from the center of this circle to the extreme end, which is 13. So now, I'm going to now reference this corner. I'm going to reference this corner. So starting from here, this reference point, which I have already, this point here, I have it. So I'm going to navigate to this corner. So I'll go up 12, then to the left 13. So up 12, left 13. So line. My object snap is on. My object snap is on. Object snaps. This object snap, it helps us to achieve accuracy. Then on my object snap, I have intersection on. Intersection is also on. Okay, intersection is also on. So now this will help me to achieve accuracy. So make sure you're on your object snap and you have intersection. All right. I also need auto to be on because auto will constrain my movement to vertical and horizontal. So I need these two drawing it on at this point. Okay. So up is 12. Up is 12. Then sideways 13. Escape. Now, okay, I've used the line to navigate to this corner, which is one corner of my rectangle. One corner of my rectangle. Okay, so now I can draw my rectangle. So the total is 114 by 81.50. So I pick rectangle. So now starting from this corner, which is my reference corner, now dimension, length is 114, then 81.5. Okay, so now I can now draw my rectangle. Now, before you place your rectangle, there are four options to place your rectangle. From this reference point, you might want to do it this, place it here, which is not what I want. I want my rectangle to be in this quadrant. So be sure you put your rectangle in the right quadrant. So I'm going to pick a point, any point in this side to place my rectangle. All right. Okay, so I can now delete the reference lines I drew earlier. I don't need them any longer. So I can remove them. Okay, so now I'm making progress with this drawing. So the next step is for me to use my chamfer. So now, if you have not learned chamfer, if you don't understand chamfer, you can reference the previous video on chamfer to learn how to use chamfer. So if you want to use chamfer, you need to distance. So the distance I need here is, if you look at this corner, we are given the distance of the chamfer distance. So 10 horizontally, 10 vertically. 10 horizontal, 10 vertical. So those are the distance I need. So I go to my drawing. So I click on chamfer. I'll be using the distance method. First distance is 10. Press enter your keyboard. Second distance 10. Enter or spacebar. Then I'll select the sides for the chamfer. Okay, I've done the chamfer. As you can see, I've been able to do the chamfer 10, 10. Then if you look closely, we have chamfer on this side and on this side also. So now this can be confusing. You might want to confuse the chamfer distance here to be 1210 and this to be 1213. That's wrong. If you are doing that on this drawing, that is wrong. If you look at the distance, the way the measurement is taken, 12 is from here to this line, and the line is beyond this distance. So this chamfer distance is not 12, it's 10. From here to here is 10, not 12. I mean, I don't know if you study this drawing very well. Now the same thing applies here. So this can actually be confusing. Some people, when they want to do this corner, they want to use 12 and 13 as their chamfer distance. If you are doing that, that's wrong. If you look closely, 12 and 13 is not the chamfer distance. So the chamfer distance is actually 10 and 10. So 10 and 10 applies to these two corners also. 10. So 10, 10, 10 here, 10 here, 10 here, 10 here for the chamfer. So now I'll be doing that also again. Chamfer distance. So now because I'll be using the chamfer, okay, let me add my 10 now. 10. Second distance is also 10. Now, because I'll be using the settings twice, I'll choose multiple. So multiple will allow me to apply the setting twice. All right. So by choosing multiple, I can apply the setting twice. Okay. You can see I can apply the setting twice because I've chosen multiple. If you don't choose multiple, you will be able to apply it once. All right. So now the last thing is for us to chamfer this corner. So now for this corner, we are given a different method, a distance of 10 and an angle of 45. A distance 10, angle 45. So I'll come and chamfer that. So click on chamfer. So instead of using distance method, we'll be using angle. So for the angle, you will need to specify a distance of 10, angle of 45. So I can click one side, distance and angle 45. Okay, very good. I'm making progress. So I've been able to do my chamfer for the four corners. So the next step for the drawing is for us to draw the circle. For us to draw the circle. So there are four circles. Then check the dimension closely. The radius is 5. So I'll click on circle. Now we have been able to obtain the center of the circle with our construction line. Radius 5. Okay, so now I need the circle on these other points too. I can decide to copy or draw them individually. So now let's use copy. Copy, select object, press enter after selecting, then pick it from the center. Then I can drop for others. Okay, escape. So I've been able to draw the circle. We are making progress. We are making progress. Now, after drawing the circle, now we want to now move to this corner. We want to now move to this corner. So to be able to do this, I'm using offset. I'll be needing offset. So now I'm going to be using offset to be able to do this. Okay, so let me look at the dimension closely. Okay, let me start with this. Now, the distance from here to here is 10. 10 on both sides. 10 on both sides. So from here, we have this line already. So by offsetting 10, 10 to make 20, I will have, okay, so I'm going to use offsets. Offset distance is 10. Then I will offset both sides. Select. Okay, all right, so escape. I've been able to get the offset distance 10, 10. Then also, all right, okay, all right. I think I have the center points now. I have the center point. So now I need a semicircle of radius 10. A semicircle of radius 10. So instead of drawing a semicircle, I'll just draw a circle. Then I'll trim. So center point of the circle, radius of 10. Okay, then I'm going to use my trim. So if you don't know how to use some of these tools, reference our previous videos on how to use the tools. So trim. Okay, I need to trim all of this. Okay, so in order not to have a too confusing drawing, okay, now let me check if the same distance is here, radius 10. Okay, I think the same measurement here is the same that goes up. So I think, yes, I think it's the same measurement. Now, how do I know? Now I have this radius as 10. So this radius as 10 means that from here to here is 10, from here to here is 10, which is 20, which is similar to this. So it's the same dimension. So I'll go and do the for the upper part too. Circle, radius 10, then trim. Okay, I told you easy way of using trim in the previous video. So go and check it to learn how to use trim. Okay, all right. Okay, so so that my drawing will not get confusing, I'm going to trim off all these extra lines that I have. All these extra lines, I'm going to trim them off. I'm going to trim them off. So click on trim again, press enter on my keyboard. I'm going to get these lines off so that my drawing does not have too much unnecessary lines that are not needed. Okay, let me see. Okay, all right, I'll find something to do. Okay, let me leave it here. Let me leave it like this. Okay, so I don't have too much lines. Let me just trim off and leave it like this. Okay, now we can continue. So I've used trim to remove some lines. So but I left some lines because I still have my construction line, which I'm going to modify later on. So let me leave it at this point. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is use the same idea to draw these two. Now from here, I can see the total is 24. Okay, the radius is 12. So I'm going to offset from here to here 12. I'm going to use the same approach of how I've done it. I'm going to use the same approach. So offset, my offset distance is will be 12 this time. Then from this reference line, okay, both side. All right. Then next, I'm going to pick circle, radius 12, circle again, and this point, radius 12. Then I'll trim. So the same way I have done the previous sides. Okay, and I think just I can always adjust the lines back if I need them. Okay, let me see. Okay, all right. I don't need this line, so I'll pick it up so it doesn't make my drawing so confusing. Yes. All right. Good. 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 Make so now based on where we are now, I think we are done with the drawing, with the main drawing. We have done with the main drawing. We've been able to use chamfer, and we've been able to achieve this. We've been able to. So now the next thing I'm going to do is just to adjust my construction lines. I'm going to adjust my construction lines so then I can do the finishing. All right. So to adjust my construction line, okay, okay. Let me press escape. Now my auto is still on. I'm going to put off my object snap but my auto is still on. Now auto being on means that I will still be able to maintain my vertical and horizontal movements. So I'll select this line, just select it without pressing any tool, select it line and drag it forward a little bit. So I'm just trying to adjust my drawing so that my construction line will be okay. So now this construction line, I want to reduce it. I don't want it to pass through the center. So what I'm going to do is I'll just draw a line here to intersect it. I'll draw another line to intersect it at this point. Then I'll trim off the middle. Then I will just delete this lines. Okay, so just to okay, all right. I think it's a short. Okay, mind you, my auto is on. Okay, so okay. Mm. So I'm trying to work on my construction lines to reduce the lines. So that's what I'm doing right now. Okay, I'm trying to look closely to be sure. Mm, Let me move this closer. Move this closer. Okay. Yeah, I think I can trim this. So now I'm using trim to take this place off. to take it totally off. I can see that it's not in the drawing. All right, then I can. So now for this side, I would reduce the size of my construction line, the line. Okay. Okay, I'm trying to adjust my construction line. Okay, all right. So I'll draw line here too. So we have done with the main drawing. So just to adjust our construction line so it doesn't extend too much. Okay, check this up. Then I can delete this. I can delete this. Don't think I need it here too. I don't need it here too. Okay, so based on the drawing. All right, so I have this side set up. So I'll do the same thing for the other side. Okay, let me extend this. Extend this a little bit. Okay, so by construction lines, then extend this a little bit. Okay, I need to trim. Okay, I need to trim this place off. I need to trim. I don't have any line here. Don't have any line here. Okay. All right. So now remains this side. So I'm using this line temporarily to create an intersection so that I can use my trim. That's why I'm drawing those lines. Now I can delete them. Okay. All right. Good. Okay, good. Fine. So I've been able to trim my construction line. I can be able to trim my construction line. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we are going to work on layers. So now with layers, now I can now make this look more like a construction line. Then I can give it, make it look more like a construction line. So now let's look at layers. Layers, I click on layers, new layer. Let me call this layer construction. Oh, sorry, I've been saying construction line, center line. It's actually center line, not construction line. Center line. Okay, so now line type, here you have continue, load. It's center line, not construction line. I've been saying construction line all this while. Center line, okay. All right, so center line, okay. So now I've changed the property of this to center line. Then let me now call this. I'm creating another layer. I'm gonna call it outline. Outline. So for this outline, line width, I'm gonna make it thick. I'm gonna make it a little bit thick. Okay, all right. All right. So now let me change the color of my center line. Let me turn it to red. Okay, so now with layers, I've been able to do my settings. Okay, so I close layer. So now I'll click my center lines. Center line, pardon me, I've been measuring construction line for some time now. They're actually center lines. But initially when we started, we used construction line to draw them, but the lines are center lines. But we have used construction line to draw them. Right, for clarification. All right. So now I'll come here to group it under center line. Okay, so now I've been able to use layers to differentiate it. Now for these other ones, I'm going to select them. For these other lines, I'm going to select them. Oh, I think I've missed. Okay, I'll adjust it. For this, I select them, including the circle. So I'm going to group them under outline. Outline. Escape. Okay, outline. Now you notice that I made a setting to be thick, but the thickness is not showing. So you come to your drawing aid and on this button here, uh, show or hide line width. That's the name of this button, show or hide line width. So I put that on. Now I've mistakenly grouped this wrongly, so I'm going to adjust it. It should be under center line. Okay, escape. We are making progress with the drawing. We're making progress with the drawing. Now you will notice, you will observe that um the center line is not showing as broken lines, right? So to adjust that, I'm going to select this, right click. I'm going to go to properties. So under properties, line type thickness. So there is a setting here, line type scale. I'm going to adjust the line type scale value. Let me use 10. Enter to see how it looks. If it's visible, escape. Okay, yes. 10 looks more like it. So 10, or I can reduce it if I feel the 10 value is too much. Right click, properties. So 10, let me try 5 or 6. Enter. Line type scale. Okay, perfect for me. Perfect for me. So now you can see now that it's showing our center line. It's showing, oh yeah, I can see that this is uh is having a wrong property. Why is that? Let me go to my layer and adjust that. Oh, yeah, okay. I think I made a mistake with the center line. So this should be continuous line, not center line. It should be continuous line. I mistakenly selected center line. Okay, now you see that it's no longer having broken lines, right? Okay, good. So now, okay, next I want these other center lines to have the same property. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be using a command line called match property. So match property is going to apply the property of this to the other center lines. So to use match property on the command line, MA is the shortcut for match property. MA, enter. Then I'm going to select the source object, which is this, then to the destination. So you can see match property. I've been able to easily apply, escape now. I've been able to easily apply the setting I did here to the other center lines. Okay, which is a good one. Okay, now, so the next step is for us to do the dimension for the drawing. To do the dimension for the drawing. So now, looking at this drawing, you will see that we have some dimension as whole numbers. We also have some dimensions in 2 decimal places. So I'm going to do 2 different settings for my dimension. So if you don't understand how to do dimension, we have a video on dimension. So you can look through the video on dimension. So I'm going to do my settings, click on new. So let me call this dimension 1. Dimension 1. Okay. So for dimension 1, I'm going to do the settings for dimension 1. Arrow size, okay, 3. Now 3. I think this is good for 3. Then text height, make sure you change this to, okay, 5, okay, or 4. So just use any value that, if the value is not appropriate, later you can modify it. You can modify it to fit. Now, okay, so I'm going to change this to whole number. I want it to be in whole number. So, okay, I'm going to create a new one. So let me call this dimension 2. So as I said, I'm creating 2 dimension settings. Okay, so using the same arrow size of 3, or let me make the arrow size to be 4. Then text to be 4 also. Then this primary, under primary unit, I want this to be 2 decimal place. Okay, all right, good. So now I've done 2 settings, dimension 1 and dimension 2. Okay, let me delete this. Okay, or I can leave it anyway. Now I'm going to make dimension 1 set current because that's what I want to apply now for dimension 1, set current. So dimension 1, I set it as current because that's what I'm going to apply first. Okay, so now for dimension 1, okay, total distance 114. Let's confirm that. total distance. Always make sure that your object snap is on anytime you want to dimension. So object snap helps you to locate the points. Dimension 2. Okay. Now dimension for this is 2 decimal place. So I'll use the other setting. I'll do that later on when I want to do for this. Okay. So now let's check out the dimension 10 10. Let's check out if we had it right. So from here to here is 10. Okay, which is correct. We also have this as 10. We also have that as 10, which is correct. Then let's check for okay. Let's check for this. From the center to this is 13. Good. From the center to this is 12. Okay, which is good. So I'll do the same thing here. Okay. I'll do the same thing here. Dimension from the center here is 12. Then from the center to this is 13. Okay, so now, okay, but now this 10, as I said previously, the 10 is for the chamfer. Okay, so there's a difference between this 10 and this 13. So don't get confused with that. Alright, so, okay, this distance, let me bring this out. 20. So 37 dimension. Okay. All right. Now, if you look at this dimension on this side, you can see that it's on the same level, right? There is a good way, there is an easy way you can do something like this. So let me do it. Let me delete this data. I'm going to drag this downwards to give it space. Let me remove this 10. So I want to dimension this again, this side, this region again. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the first dimension. Okay. I'm going to do the first dimension using linear. Now, there is another method of dimension called dimension continue. Dimension continue. To use dimension continue, you can use the shortcut dimension continue. So type dimension continue, DIMCON, dimension continue on your command line, dimension continue on your command line. To activate it, then you just keep on selecting your points. So with dimension continue, it helps me to continue dimensioning on the same straight line of the first one. So you can have dimension continue. Then you can have the total, get the total out. All right. So that's dimension. So I use linear first, then dimension continue for the other part of the dimension. Okay. So, all right. So dimension radius for the arc, dimension for the circle. Okay, all right. So now doing this, you can bring out the dimensions for your drawing. Now let's do the dimension that has 2 decimal points. So I'll go to dimension again, then I'll make dimension 2. I'll set it as current to apply it. So now dimension. Now, okay. All right. So now you can see now it's 1.50. Okay, it's 1.50. Now let me do this on this. Okay, 18.75. Okay. All right. So now I can also use dimension continue here. Dimension continue. Dimension continue. I've used it previously. So I pick it. Dimension continue. Okay. To maintain. Okay. Let me stop there. Dimension continue. So dimension continue give me the order dimensions. Okay, I have a dimension here before. Let me delete that. All right. So now I've been able to dimension this drawing. I'll be able to dimension this drawing. All right. So now that's on dimension. If you want to add more dimensions to this, so you can feel free, go ahead and do that. Now the last thing I'm going to do now is to apply gradients. You can see the color, so that's gradients. So I'm going to be applying gradients to finalize this drawing. So gradients, choose gradients. Then what color do you want? You can choose any color of your choice. So okay, I want to mix two colors. All right. So then you can also decide on the pattern how you want the color to be mixed. So, okay, so that's gradient for you. Gradient, accept. Okay, gradients. Then let me use gradients again. Gradients. So let me change my color. You can use any color of your choice. Okay, let me just mix. Then I want it to have this pattern. Then, okay, all right, good. All right, so yes, okay. Okay, good. I send it to the back. I send my gradient to the back so that my drawing can be visible. Okay, so I'm doing this so that the drawing can be visible. Okay, all right. So now we've been able to complete our drawing. So this is the first exercise on AutoCAD. It's been we have learned a whole lot of tools. We have learned how to use construction line. We have used rectangle. We have used circle. We have used trim, offset, chamfer. We have done dimension. We have done gradient. We have done layers just on this exercise. So I hope you have learned one or two things trying to do this exercise. Thank you so much. More exercises are coming to improve your skill on AutoCAD. Thank you. So keep on following, tell your friends about this video, subscribe to encourage us, and see you in the next video.